When I first watched a movie, probably 2 or 3 years ago now, that had a leading male, Asian male, I was floored.
The exposure to media really does shape their perception, not just of who they are, but of the world around them.
This person looks like you, talks like you, but what they're trying to portray, what they're trying to project, and what they're trying to sell is negative, it's damaging.
My role in this report was to pull the knowledge and research that I have around kids' understanding of race and ethnicity as part of their development and think about what that means in the context of media.
Growing up, I never saw any value of being an Asian male because I never saw a value of Asian males in any of the movies I watched.
Although you had minorities as characters, they were rarely lead characters.
When I was growing up, there were very much stereotypical ways in which different characters were portrayed based on their race or their ethnicity.
Mexicans, Hispanics are portrayed as gangsters, narcos. That is not the majority, but that's what prevails, and it has an impact on a society that might not be well informed.
It has been a concern in the past that she's not watching people that look like her.
Our daughter, Hazel, she doesn't think the color black is beautiful.
Our parents' generation used to say it takes a village to raise a child. And sometimes I feel like media has become part of the village.
The way Latinos are portrayed in movies, it's a narrative that at some point gets deep inside the people. And then people just don't reflect anymore upon these things. They just think like, oh, Hispanic, he's loud, lazy.
For our family particularly, they love dolls. Even with that, there's not a lot of black princesses. There's one. And so when she sees that, oh, she looks like me, I feel like that helps her confidence more than she even knows.
I would say that when they first started feeling, oh my gosh, I see myself in movies, was Moana. And that was an animated movie. But it was the first time they saw a character that had their hair. And that was the first thing, it brings up the tears. It was the first time they said, oh my gosh, she looks like me. And they said, her hair looks like mine. I didn't realize how powerful that was, to see someone that looked like them. And for me, that was important.
We have seen in the last year and a half a notable shift in representation in explicit conversations about race in the media.
Since George Floyd, the representation has been very intentional. And so there's not a lot of stereotypes. And if there are stereotypes, then the country's calling them out.
It's a good feeling to see someone that looks like you, talks like you, and has similar desires, and it's represented in a way that is positive.
We try to pick different movies that show a different point of view, movies that show different cultures.
We actually watched In the Heights this week as a family. Even though it's a Hispanic culture, it kind of ties into, the idea that there are others out there that succeed.
Media can impact a child in very different ways. As far as professionally, I think that when they see people that look like them doing great things, I feel like that motivates them to want to do the same.
Representation has improved in media, but it still has work.
We want media representation that's realistic, right? We want sort of stories that are not cookie cutter or really just riffing on different cultural stereotypes.
It's definitely important to me that our kids get exposed to just different aspects of our culture through what we watch.
As parents, that's also our responsibility to let them see, even if they're not portrayed people of color in a positive way, that that's not the end of the story, if that makes sense.
I'm really excited to know that Common Sense Media is adding a diversity component so that when you're looking up a media for your kids, you can say, hey, what have they said about who's represented? How's race and ethnicity represented in this film?
Let's look at different families. Let's look at different people so that she can get an awareness of what beauty looks like. It's not just one race that's beautiful. We're all beautiful.
When you see more of yourself in the media, you have more of a reflection of what's out there and what you are represented.
Content creators have a big responsibility, but I would also say an opportunity to really think about what are the kinds of stories we want to tell and use those stories to shape the world we want to live in rather than just retelling the story of the world as it is.